Hi there, and welcome to the Cotswold Explorer. I'm Robin Shuckburgh, and we're exploring the wonderful region of the Cotswolds in southwest England. For the last couple of years, we've been following in the footsteps of Herbert Evans, who wrote this wonderful book, Highways and Byways in Oxford and the Cotswolds, in 1905. Today, you find Ross, Widget, Gizmo and me in the tiny little village of Long Compton. This is hidden away in one of those folds in the Cotswold Hills. It's the classic Cotswold gem. The manor house here has a fascinating history. We're going to tell you all about it, and we're going to show you around. Come with me. When Evans cycled past here in 1905, he mentioned it only in passing as the village where Bishop, afterwards Archbishop Juxon, had a manor, to which he retired during the Commonwealth. William Juxon, born in 1582, was an English churchman, Bishop of London from 1633 to 1646, and Archbishop of Canterbury after the restoration of the monarchy from 1660 until his death in June 63. He was a firm favourite of Charles I, who in 1636 entrusted Juxon with important secular duties, making him Lord High Treasurer of England as well as First Lord of the Admiralty. For the next 5 years he had to deal with many difficulties on behalf of the king. He resigned the treasurership in May 1641, and during the Civil War the bishop, against whom no charges were ever brought in Parliament, lived undisturbed at Fulham Palace. His advice was often sought by the king, who had a very high opinion of him, and eventually the king selected Juxon to be with him on the scaffold and to deliver him the last rites before his execution. After the king's death, Juxon retired here to concentrate on his favourite sport of hunting. His pack became extremely well known in the area. Not all his neighbours were particularly keen on his presence. There's a story that some of the more Puritan amongst them were keen to find reason to report him to Cromwell, to stir up trouble. On one occasion, Juxon's hounds ran straight through Chipping Norton churchyard during a time of public worship, providing a perfect opportunity to lodge a complaint. Cromwell is said to have responded, "Pray, do you think that the bishop prevailed on the hare to run through the churchyard at that time?" The messenger said, "No, and please your highness, I did not directly say he did, but through the holy ground the hare did go at that time." Cromwell dismissed him. "Get you gone, and let me hear no such frivolous complaints. While the bishop continues not to give my government any offence, let him enjoy his diversion of hunting unmolested." In 1660, Juxon was restored to the bishopric of London and almost immediately appointed Archbishop of Canterbury. Today, the house is in fantastic condition owing to the fact that it belongs to Sir Alec Reed, founder of the employment agency that bears his name. He originally intended to run it as a farm, but in a very short time decided to use it to house the Reed Business School, where his team not only trains his own company's staff, but also a wide variety of students from elsewhere in financial and management matters. I get the strong impression that quite a lot of this village now belongs to the Reed School, and that students are probably housed in many of the local cottages. The church, dedicated to St. Denis, which sadly today we were unable to access, has several things of interest should you be luckier than we were. We tried asking the school reception for a key, by the way, and they don't hold one, so if you do find it closed, that won't be a successful solution. In the south aisle, there's a stained glass window with 4 scenes depicting Juxon's role at the king's execution. Commissioned in the 1920s by Mrs. Leverton Harris, the owner of the manor at the time, the window was made by Hugh Easton. In the southeast window of the chancel are reset some fragments of 16th and 17th century coloured glass brought from a church at Villers that was destroyed by the Germans in 1918. The tower contains 5 bells by Ruddle, dated 1720, and the little rounded font is an unusual dumpy shape, only 29 inches high and 34 inches in diameter. The village boasts 19 listed buildings, and if you wander the lanes you will be well rewarded. The view of the manor from the main Oakham Road is particularly spectacular and not to be missed, but the house and church are so close together that even though you can't get into the manor grounds, you really do feel you've had a very close look at it from the churchyard. I hope you've enjoyed our little spin around Little Compton. It's a pity we couldn't get into the church. I think I've discovered the reason why. I think they're closed because they've got some birds nesting in the porch. And quite understandably, they don't want people like me coming along and letting the birds inside the church. That's a shame, but it's no less wonderful, this little place. And it demonstrates one of the ways in which these great houses and great little villages can be maintained. The presence of this extraordinary business. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You can find us on all the normal platforms. Visit our website where you'll find all the history of the stuff we've done. And we look forward to seeing you again in the very near future somewhere else in the Cotswolds.